how do you two feel about the new rendition, the new take of cinematic? I mean, Batman with RP as your leader.
So, starting out, thank you, Liv, for warning us. But spoiler warnings are in effect. This is going to be a spoiler talk. So, with that being said, if you have not watched the movie, mute us. But keep that view because we want you to hang out with us. But if you don't, I mean, it's a Batman movie. I mean, we all kind of understand to a certain degree Batman saves the day. Yay. Because heroes only lose when they want to have a new sequel out within the year. And there's not a new sequel coming out next year. So with that being said, let's get into it. The Batman, Robert Pattinson. Ham, how do you feel?
So I'm glad I waited. I've been waiting to say it. I haven't been able to talk to LA because my man's been sick. By the way, shout out. Hopefully he feels better soon.
LA, I hope you get better, brother.
Yeah. But yes. So I like it. It's really good. Do I feel that people are overhyping it by saying it's better than Dark Knight? 100%. It's a good movie, though. That's not to say it's bad. It's a really good movie. But, yeah, we're just going to talk about this one. I'm not talking about the Dark Knight. Dark Knight came out. The Batman. Robert Pattinson did really good. I liked him. I liked at this stage of Batman that we got because this is 2 years. He said he's been Batman for 2 years at this point. So, you know what I mean? Like, he's still young, yet he has some time under his belt. You know what I mean? So like you'll see like later, otherwise we keep explaining like through Arkham you'll see some other villains and stuff like who's been around. Penguin, Colin Farrell, he did really good. He killed it. I loved it. Zoe Kravitz, ooh, yo, her fighting even I was like, bruh, like she was really I really liked the fighting throughout the whole thing. Falcone. Man, he did so good too. Like he get I liked how he was a mob boss. It paid homage to Falcone as a mob boss, which they kind of did in Gotham. Granted, it was just like in Gotham it sucked because Gotham sucked. But like the guy that did Falcone did really good. But I loved Falcone. The Riddler was crazy and everything that you wanted. And like the actor, I remember him from one of my favorite Hugh Jackman movies, Prisoners. He's in Prisoners. And you kind of get that little vibe from it too. But yeah, I really liked the movie. It was really good. It was 3 hours, and I mean but it paced really well. Like I can't really think of anything to cut out. I'm like, oh, you could cut this part out and kind of cut it down. Like it was packed to the brim of it too, and it was dark and the hands.
So, because I want your take too. It was a good. I'm guessing this is a reset, correct? Of the origin of a Batman movie. Mm-hmm. So everything here was a good start of a series of Batman as he's leading the Dark Knight cape moving forward, correct? From what you're saying.
Yeah, like if they leave this and just do let's say they would do a trilogy, kind of how they did Dark Knight. How Dark Knight was not tied to anything, it was just its own, you know what I mean? Like 3 movies. If they do that with this, yes. And this was listen, this is what Batman Begins should have been. Okay? Because this is kind of how, you know what I mean? Like Batman Begins is like Batman when he first kind of started. Granted, like this is maybe to a year and a half, 2 years into it. But I feel like this is what Batman Begins should have been.
So can you expand a little bit on this is what Batman Begins should have been? Because in my opinion, right now I'm torn. I need to spend more time with the Batman, but I'm just going to jump ahead of the conversation a little bit. Right now I'm at a point to where I am trying to figure out which of the movies I like better between the Dark Knight and the Batman. But Batman Begins for me is definitively the 3rd best film out of all Batman movies. So when you say that this is what Batman Begins should have been, and granted, I'm talking about live action movies, we don't have to count the animated movies.
My face still stands, but okay.
But yeah, so what do you mean when you say this is what it should have been?
Because Batman Begins was supposed to be the start of it, correct? Right? Like it's Batman coming into himself, kind of figuring out how to be Batman. Ergo, kind of what this is. Granted, like I said, this is like maybe like a year. Batman Begins was like him already in a year because like I don't know if you've ever seen Batman Year One.
You know we have.
When he walked up and broke a boy, and he was like, "Okay, so don't punch dudes so hard." Got it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So, and you can see it with this because if you think of where, I mean, The Dark Knight wanted to be a dark series. You know what I mean? It was nothing bright about it. There was nothing happy-go-lucky about it. And with Ra's al Ghul and the realism, like he was attacking the city. You know what I mean? Kind of like how the Riddler, like you saw, he flooded the city. Like my man's was trying to prove a point. And just like the dark and the like how it was trying to go dark, like that's what it wanted to be. Okay. Granted, it was still lighthearted and still a little bit, you know what I mean, like rough around the edges. I like, granted, and like I said, it's its own thing, but I just really liked like the fighting and everything. Like all around, this was a really good movie. I just can't definitively say it's better than The Dark Knight because when The Dark Knight came out, bro, it grabbed me. You know what I mean? Like it like took me, bro, and I was just like, you can have all of me. Go ahead. I'm here for you. Like, you know?
Two things I need to point out. Greg, can you please say, I'm here to revive Ra's al Ghul's destiny, please? I need that.
Thank you.
Needed that too. God. I am so proud of him because he censored himself because he was about to go.
Yeah, he almost dropped one.
I was so proud of you, Ham. Man,
but shout out to Metro Esports
for real for the sponsorship. But I definitely get that take because I made a Facebook status. I want everyone to understand that I was not lying. The Dark Knight was great because of the Joker. That was Heath Ledger's movie.
And it's funny enough, and that's why I say I have to spend more time because adding to that, there's a part in the movie where, similar to the Dark Knight, where if you are not watching the clock, you could be like, "Man, is that it? Is this over?"
There's like
yeah. So like, there's a very similar moment, and then it's like, oh wait, no, this isn't over. And when that happened, it was a part where I kind of stopped paying attention to the movie for 30 seconds, and I said, well, is he better than the Joker? And then I could not, at that point, because, like, don't get me wrong, like, Heath Ledger, like, right now is the best Joker that we've had within a Batman film. Mm-hmm. Like, Joaquin Phoenix did something amazing, but you kind of can't put that in the same conversation because it was the Joker versus the Joker. And it is a beautiful movie for what it was meant to be. And I hope at some point we get a sequel where we get a crossover with Robert Pattinson's Batman or something of the sort. But
there's no need to though, right? You seen the movie.
But what I would say is this: Heath Ledger was his movie versus the Riddler was part of his movie. And that's where I'm kind of torn on why I cannot figure which one is best, and I need to watch The Batman a couple more times before I can make that decision. Mm-hmm. Because if you take out Heath Ledger and you put anyone else in that position, I mean, it would have been a good movie. But Heath Ledger is what made it. So what I look at when I look at this movie is if you take any other actor and that was at least half as effective as, and I'm sorry, I'm losing the name of who played the Riddler, mm-hmm. But if you put anybody else in that role, that movie could have still been as good.
No, I'm gonna say no because you got to think about okay, have you seen The Prisoners? Is with Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, Terrence Howard's in it, Viola Davis.
I have not.
So it's about Terrence Howard, Viola Davis, their family. Hugh Jackman, he has his wife, and they both have daughters. The daughters get kidnapped, all right? And then they're trying to find them, and Hugh Jackman and Terrence Howard kidnap who they think did it, and they trap him in a house and kind of start torturing him. That dude that's getting tortured, he plays this Ari kind of creepy, the scene when he pulled up to the diner and he just looks at Batman and just starts smiling, because of the characters that he's played, he sold that scene. That's why I was not a lot of people can If you would have put somebody else, like I would not have felt like even he had the mask on, but like that whole like kind of creepy scream and like there's something really wrong with him like thing, like that's his role that he plays in his movie. So like to pick him, I feel like, and to choose him was right, because if you try to put somebody who's not really to the norm of doing that kind of role, it wouldn't have worked and it would have felt forced. Ergo, Jeffrey Wright. That's my only problem with this movie, is that like he was forced. Like I felt he forced a lot. Like that whole scene when him and Batman were like talking to each other, you know what I mean? Like in the thing, and he like he told Batman to punch him, and I'm just like, why are you talking like that? And then he tried to do the Batman talk to the Penguin after that, and I'm just like, no, that's not, you know what I mean? Like, and I get like that was his own rendition, but like I don't know, some of like his scenes felt a little forced, but he was still.
Are you referring to Pattinson or dude that played Jim Gordon?
Jeffrey Wright, the dude that played Jim Gordon.
Yeah. I mean, he was okay. Like I'm not gonna like. I think he's a good actor, but I know like this is one of the first times that he has like not a leading role in the movie, because we usually see him as like the smart scientist or the smart guy that no one listens to. And I can agree there. Like he was not like the standout. You know, like he was good. I definitely prefer the Dark Knight's version of Jim Gordon a little bit more.
Gary Oldman is a phenomenal.
Gary Oldman
is that guy.
Yes,
but at the same time, I am happy and excited that we got a black Commissioner Gordon. That's cool.
I will say I like that there were prominent black roles that were being like, you know, like the new mayor, she was black, you know what I mean? Jim Gordon was black, you know what I mean? Like that. Right. Catwoman was black, you know what I mean? Like
though we've had a couple black Catwomans before, and we're not talking about Halle Berry.
Thank you, Jesus. We will not bring that up ever, because Perry will go on a 45-minute rant on why that movie is god awful and as equally as trash as Dragon Ball Evolution.
Oh my god!
And because this podcast is powered by Metro Esports.
So before we talk about Halle Berry, we will give every respect to the one and only, God rest her soul, Eartha Kitt. Continue with the podcast, please.
But yeah, go ahead, dude.
No, go ahead, man. Go ahead. You got it.
But that's the thing, is that like another thing is that like if you go through the Dark Knight and you look at like, let's take out Batman. Okay, now if you take out Batman and you look at all the other kind of, let's say, leading roles, now if you take out the Batman and you look at like Harvey Dent, like Aaron Eckhart, he did great as, you know.
Oh yeah. He was
like,
a good.
You know what I mean? Like, and then you have the Joker, great. Gary Oldman, he did really great. You know what I mean? Like Alfred, like Michael Caine did his thing. You know what I mean? Like, so, and now you go over here and it's the same thing. So that's why I get why it's kind of hard, because like everybody kind of killed their role in their own sense. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they all brought everything they had to the table. And that's the thing, is like it met what you wanted plus more. I will say that they gave you the best fighting. That car chase scene was A1. A1.
Why?
I have one other thing. I'm mad that they wasted their F word. I was so mad that they wasted it in the beginning. Like in the first 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, I feel like they should have saved the F-bomb for Penguin.
For the Penguin. Because he was driving. Oh my gosh.
So this is the thing that I appreciate so much, because until I did some more research, watched a couple more videos, looked at some of the behind the scenes stuff, that jump with the Batmobile over the wreckage through the flame was 100% practical. There was no CGI, we need more of that.
In the sense that, like, oh yeah, this ramp just lined up perfectly over.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
But no, I'm talking about from a filmmaking aspect. So like the explosion, the flames, the jump, the car was all real. There was nothing added to that but lighting and cameras.
That's dope, man.
And in filmmaking today, where CGI is such a big thing, like yes, we do appreciate our CGI, but man, when I tell you, you see that scene of the Batmobile blasting through the flames over the ramp and landing behind Penguin, and that explosion just boom. Like there was that moment where you're like, and we need so much more of that. And that's why I agree. I think that for Penguin should have been the F-bomb moment. Like, Like we're here.
He
And
was like,
he's
"I
behind.
got you." He was like, "You freaking crazy guy!" Like, and it just sounded weird. And I was just like, "Yeah, that's when they should have said boom." And I would have been like, "See, that's good because that's Penguin." You know what I mean? Like that is. And so, but Liv, Andy Serkis he was okay. It was a definitely different take on Alfred. They went more of like, I guess you can say, the military form of Alfred. Because, like, I mean, Michael Caine, like, he talked about his past and what he did, but he was very much older. And I feel like even if you look at him, like, what, he maybe had like 20 years on him, like 30 years on him, you know what I mean? So, like, he wasn't, but it was okay.
I mean,
it definitely brought the gravity. Like, I liked how like his role in it. Like his role was to like Bruce, because Bruce was struggling with obviously like who was my parents, were they really? I'm only hearing what other people saying. It's kind of hard to figure it out. And then Alfred's there to be like, nah, man. Like there's one scene where like it was the funeral scene. I don't know if you guys seen the trailer, but like when he's gonna go to the funeral, Alfred's like, "Oh, you're all dressed up," and he's like, "Where's your cufflinks?" He's like, "Oh, I couldn't find them." And Alfred starts taking off his cufflinks. He's like, "Alfred, I don't need your cufflinks." And he said, "Hey, man, you're a Wayne. Like, don't forget that." And he gives them to him, and they're the W. And then even Bruce is like, "Oh, and where are you a Wayne too?" And he looked at him dead in his face, bro, and was like, "Your father gave me those." And then Bruce, like, it brought that that
moment of levity, where he was like, and so what I'll say as far as like it was a weird dynamic. Like I love the dynamic that we got between Andy Serkis and Robert Pattinson. I think that it worked extremely well. I'm excited to see what they do in more movies. I agree that the age gap between them is not as extreme as we're used to seeing. That was a little weird. I have two gripes though. One, when we go to kill Alfred, well, I mean, now technically they didn't go to kill Alfred. There's a scene where there was a bomb that was supposed to kill Batman. Supposed to kill Bruce Wayne, more particularly. And Bruce Wayne was not there. Alfred was there to receive the package. Now, this is my thing. If you go to injure Alfred, injure him. Have someone hit him with a club, have someone kidnap him and bang him up a little bit. What I do not want you to do is do not freaking blow Alfred up. And then pull the type of foolishness of, oh, he's okay, he's in a hospital bed. Like that was like one of my biggest complaints is if you're gonna blow up Alfred, kill him. Yeah. If you do not want to kill him, find a different type of way.
Do not fairy tale me.
Yeah. Like that could have been like an anthrax package. That could have been like I don't know.
Greg, that's really aggressive.
I'm just saying.
That's aggressive.
I'm just saying.
You could have went with. You could have went wrong.
It could have been
Amazon package.
It could have been anything. It could have been
like. I mean, he is smart. Like he threw. But one thing that did get me though is like even like when he did it, he's been on a cane limping this whole time, and he was like, "Oh, I could jump out the way perfect." You know what I mean? Like
and that's what got me. That's why I say it could have been like an anthrax package. If you would have poisoned Alfred, if it was anthrax, if it would have been some type of like rat poisoning or something. All right, we can debate. Maybe he could survive this, but it's the fact that they gave this man he's right here. He's right here. He's close enough to read this.
Yeah, but he throws it and kind of jumps behind the table. You know what I mean? And like, come on.
So now, Ham, you are a military man. Have you ever seen a grenade go off?
Yes.
So let me ask you this: if said grenade is right here, right here, close enough for me to read it as a blind old man, and then I throw the grenade, but.
It's not the same power as a grenade, bro. There's a little bomb on there.
It was a C4 explosive, and they specified it was C4.
Look at the explosion when he threw it. It barely blew up the room. Like it would have tore down the building. It barely blew up the room.
Exactly, and that because of plot. And again, like I said, I love this movie, and I will watch it another 3 or 4 times, and then I'll watch Dark Knight another 2 times, and I'll make a definitive decision on which of these films I like better. But what I am saying is, because we're there, we specify now, if C4 is thrown from here to here, and then it explodes,
It was so to the
Am I
point,
alive?
man. You better
Am I alive? Answer the question,
And
Ham.
you behind the table. I mean, no, you might survive. You're gonna be messed up, but there's a possibility you can survive. You might be messed up, but
if C4 exploded less than a yard away from you, you're gonna survive. That man didn't die behind a building. Like, I did not blink in that scene because I knew what was coming. I didn't blink. I didn't wince. I didn't flinch.
Okay, I wasn't on scene, so I can't give a valid answer. Okay.
So my point is, like, if you're gonna blow up Alfred, kill him. If you don't want to kill him, just have some grunts beat him up or something.
Yeah, I feel you though.
Yeah.
But one thing I did like is like they showed that it is a young but still like known Batman. You know what I mean? Because like if you we know Batman, bro. Batman don't be taking hits. Like if you talk about Batman, like he has hands. Like, he come in, he's like, ugh. But like this Batman is so young. He's so aggressive, like bro. Like he's so aggressive, like he's like one of those dudes, bro. Like he has his armor on, bulletproof armor, and he's like, I don't care. Like, dude, hit him. He's just like, dude, shoot him. He's just like, yeah, okay. Like he's eating everything, bro. Like that scene when he's walking, he just walks down, bro, and he like it's like one of the first scenes, bro. He walks down, he walks up, and they're just looking at him. Dude pulls out a machete, bro, and he's just like, who are you? And he doesn't say anything, bro. He just walks up to him, blocks a hit. Cracks him, dude falls on the ground, bro, and then he was just like, hold up. And then he was just like, yeah, like that. I'm him, bro. I'm him. Yeah. Come on.
So very quickly, I do have to, because I know we went on a tangent. I have to just pull back to Alfred for a minute.
Hold on, let me answer these things real quick. No, Liv. He's only 2 years into being the Bat family. So
yeah, exactly. So 2 years,
possible.
But my other thing with Alfred was that moment where he kind of learned a dark secret about his family, and we'll try not to spoil everything because that's an unnecessary spoiler to just drop during the review. But when he learns out something about his family and he confronts Alfred about it, after he figures out that half of his life has been lies, he's like, Alfred, you lied to me. And Alfred's like, no, I didn't. And he's just like, oh, okay, then what happened? Which I thought was kind of weird. But I do want to shout out to back to Batman in those scenes where he's throwing hands. One of my favorite things is like the 3 ways that he comes to the Ice Lounge Club. We have Batman at the beginning. He's like, do you know who I am? And they're like, yeah, get out of here. Yeah. Dude comes and gets his twin. They throw hands and he just walks in.
Okay. So that's what I wanted to bring up. Dang, you were taking my point. The scene in which Batman was trying, Robert Pattinson was actually trying to get into the club, and there was 3 situations. He came in as a Batman. Yeah. And people was like, and? Then he came as Bruce Wayne, like, yes, Master Bruce.
Yeah.
And then he pulled off the detective move, like,
yeah. And that's what's interesting about this movie. We've seen movies where Batman is learning to be Batman. We've seen movies where Batman is Batman and he's doing this thing. And we've seen movies where Batman is trying not to be Batman and finding out. This is the only live action movie that we have where we are finding Batman in a situation where he already knows how to be Batman. He is more or less trying to find his lane as a superhero, or as a hero, technically, since he doesn't have superpowers other than white privilege and money. But
money is a very powerful superpower.
Absolutely. But this is why I highlight when you see him at the beginning of the movie. Like I said, he comes to the club. They're like, "Yeah, get out of here," whatever. He gets his twin brother. They attempt to beat up Batman. Batman completely wrecks them. Walks into the club. Second time he comes as Bruce Wayne, which we see growth because somewhere in this movie you can tell that Batman understands that Bruce Wayne is also needed as a piece of the puzzle to solve this mystery. So we see him starting to kind of figure things out. So at that point, he comes back as Bruce Wayne. Hey, do you know who I am? And oh yeah, Bruce Wayne, come here, yeah. Come and talk to the boss. Not going to specify who the boss is because that is a huge spoiler that we want to, kind of stay away from if possible. And then later on, he comes back after he is getting towards the point of understanding where his lane could possibly be. And we see him knock on that door again. They open the door. Both of the twins are there for a third time. And this time he completely just like ninjas his way in. And it just kind of like shows the progression of Batman as a character and as a hero in the movie, because he's starting to understand that, okay, I do not have to punch everything that moves. And then testament to that, you know, we've all seen in the trailer where they're like, "Who do you think you are?" And he just wells on guy, and he goes, "I'm justice. No, I'm vengeance. Yeah. I'm vengeance," which was a really cool trailer moment. But we have a moment towards the end where the Riddler, his final plot has been foiled. Excuse me, I'm like fighting off the flu right now. That's why my voice sounds a little crazy. But anyway, he foils the plan and he like completely wells on another guy, very similar to how he did at the beginning. And when Batman is like, "Who are you?" and they ask like, "Who is this guy?" he responds back, "I'm vengeance." And then at that moment, you have Batman. He doesn't give you the cheap, "Oh, okay, I get it." He stares, and you can see within Robert Pattinson's face through his eyes that something clicks. And he's like, "All right, I've got to do something different here," because there's a scene where Batman actually confronts the Riddler, and it creates a huge conflict within Batman. Because this is why, for me as a lifelong Batman fan, like I've been Batman since I was 4, like, and if you know the dynamic of Batman and his rogues gallery, that there is no rogues gallery without Batman and vice versa. Like you have like the Penguin, because the Penguin is out there doing his thing, but the Two-Face happens because of his interactions with Bruce Wayne and Batman. The Joker happens because he's so intrigued by the Batman, he has to be his counterweight, so on and so forth. So this is the first movie that really explores that, because when you have that scene where he sits down and he finally confronts the Riddler, it's like, "Hey, like you're my accomplice in this. Like we're partners. Like you inspire me." So when you see that moment that Bruce is completely, well, Batman Bruce, you know, they kind of play the fact that they are different people in a lot of ways.
Right.
But when you have that conversation and you see Batman's reaction to like how conflicted he is by that statement, but he does not understand it, and the first thing he does is he's in denial. He's like, "No, no." Yeah. And then you fast forward to the moment where the Riddler goon says, "I'm vengeance." It clicks at that moment, and he's just like, and I'm gonna go ahead and use our one, but that's when he has his "oh shit" moment. Yeah. And he's like, this is why he said that I inspire him. This is why he is the way that he is, because of the way that I have been. And like for me, as like Batman as a character, like we've never seen a movie where that happens. Those are usually things that happens off screen in between movies, and then he comes back and he's no longer the hero that Gotham needs. He's the hero that they want, or however the saying goes. So it's very interesting to see that in this movie we got to see Batman go through that transition, learn those things real time in front of our faces. And I'm super excited to see what the next film is going to be like now, because now we know that Batman understands that we have to be a symbol of hope. That does open up the door, like the symbol of hope. And we know now that Riddler had some orphan things going on. He feels a certain type of way about orphans. There's a kid in the movie that he runs into whose father died, and we see how that impacts both Bruce and Batman and the kid throughout the movie.
Alfred, even Alfred. Remember when Alfred? By the way, I love that contact lens, bro, that he got, bro. That is so dope.
Yeah, that was dope. But from that though, like, because we have that development, that does open the opportunity to say, all right, well, we know now that he's had this development. He knows now that he does not have to be as violent. This opens up the opportunity to where we might get a Robin in this world of the Batman sooner than we think, because now he's kind of understood certain things. Now, is it going to happen? I don't think it's going to happen in the second movie. Maybe the third movie. I don't know.
It might like, and they can go off and do their own Robin. But yeah, that's what it's 2. He's only 2 years in. Like, he's definitely not bringing anybody in. I'd say maybe probably the third movie, because Honestly, they've already said it. Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson have already said if they get the green light to do a second movie, Quarter Owls is happening. And I am here for it.
And the Court of Owls can work because, like, again, without giving too much spoiler to the film, though we have spoiled some really good story beats. The reality is, this movie, while it's heavily inspired by the Zodiac Killer in real life, as well as the Long Halloween comic graphic novel / the animated movie, I think he was in there a little bit.
Calendar wasn't because they were doing the date but like I get what you're saying.
But we have so much inspiration from those movies.
Owls.
Owls. Did I say owls?
No, she's asking. She's in
owls.
Owls, yeah, like the bird. For a lot of reasons, but owls are known to be all-knowing, all-seeing creatures of the night, just like bats. And owls are also known to actually feed on bats because they are predators. So there's lots of parallels why they are named the thing that they are. But the Court of Owls are essentially Gotham City's Illuminati, and the entire theme of this movie is unseen, unknown corruption behind the scenes. Who's really pulling the strings here? Mm-hmm. So if they're going to continue within that lane, the stage is already set. We have a huge stinger from another potential future villain. I'm not going to spoil it.
Which I'm really happy with who the actor that they chose to. I was like, because at first I thought it was somebody else. I was like, what? Until I heard something and I was like, yeah.
Ham, you text me and you text me now. You text me now. This is the one time I give you the full 100% go ahead and tell me now.
Yeah. What I'll say is from that stinger, I got the chills. Like my wife is sitting next to me. She's like, "Who is that? Is that Two-Face? Is that Scarecrow? Like, who is that?" And I'm just like sitting here like pinch cliff.
My son too. I'm like and then we're walking out of the movie theater. We get to the car, and I'm like, "All right, son, you ready for the answer now?" Like, here we go.
Right. It's like it's none other than Killer Croc.
Yeah.
Oh my God! If that happens, I recant my. Though I want him.
Aiden would say. I was talking to Aiden about it, and he actually said Killer Croc, and I said Killer Croc would actually work in this, and
like, especially in the sequel, because the entire and not to cut you off, but I have to give a shout out to the film because a lot of times and a lot of superheroes, like the MCU has made this a little better, but in a lot of superhero films, like the villain is usually stopped before he can see through his plan. In this movie, the Riddler actually kind of follows through and executes his plan right up until like the final piece of the puzzle where it falls apart. But the movie ends in a way to where the city is flooded and there is no solution. And at the end of the movie, the city is still flooded. They are waiting on the Coast Guards to get there to help out. Martial law is in effect, and they do not know what is coming next. In that type of situation where the Gotham's like floor level is flooded, that is again an environment that is ripe for
and think about it. Okay, so along with what you said, floor is flooded, and then now you have, Gotham essentially like torn apart. The Quarter Owls, in the sense of all of their stuff, they're the ones that are like running Gotham. They're going to be the ones to bring it up and get it all back and right. And I think that's which would lead to a sequel anyway, because then he's going to be like, "Who's doing all this?" You know what I mean? Like, how is everything happening so fast, kind of thing. But
yeah, definitely so. So in sitting right now, let's go ahead. Like, I know, Perry, you have not seen the movie in entirety just yet. You're waiting to hopefully get that done maybe this weekend or sometime next weekend. So I'm not going to ask you, but right now, top 3 Batman movies, Ham, where are you?
I can still answer that.
Biased or unbiased? I need that answer.
I mean,
because it's Dark Knight, the Batman, and then like, I
swear to God,
No. I swear to God, really love Batman Returns. Like, that's one of my top Batman movies.
Okay, as long as
they feel like I get it's not Mob Penguin, but like Danny DeVito killed Penguin. Michelle Pfeiffer killed that Catwoman, not like more of like a sexy, fun toying with, you know what I mean? Not as like a dark noir Catwoman as Zoe Kravitz did. And then Michael Keaton as Batman, man.
That's the soundtrack Prince made too, right?
Yeah. Danny Elfman was on that, but yeah, Prince was on that one too.
Okay, as long as you did not say the one and only Bat Nipples, we're good.
Nope. No. Batman Begins is like close behind that too. I really like Batman Begins.
Okay. That's understandable. And then I already said mine, but right now, as of now, I'm gonna leave Dark Knight and the Batman at a tie until I can spend more time with the Batman. But it's okay because I'm the same way. Like with No Way Home right now, I'm not gonna call it the best the best Spider-Man film until I can spend more time with it. Like I adore the movie, but I've got to spend more time with it.
It was great on this time, but like, what do you?
But can I say this? Can I?
So this is what I'm going to say. I've only seen it once, and this is my thing.
What other Spider-Man movie is even in competition with?
I understand, but this is my thing.
Spider-Verse.
When you spend more time with films, things happen. You see things that you didn't see before, and sometimes you notice issues and you notice things that you don't care for. The first time that I saw Spider-Man: Homecoming, I'm like, oh man, this is great. I love this movie, and I still like the movie. But like at that time, like there was a question of Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man: Homecoming. At that point, I would have said Spider-Man: Homecoming. However, after spending more time with that particular movie, Spider-Man 2 is my favorite. And then, at the same time, when I saw Spider-Man
Far
From Home, it was one of those things where I was like, all right, yeah, this is definitely my favorite Spider-Man movie. And then over time, it stayed there. But, at this point, sometimes you feel things when you're in the hype of a particular moment, and once you get to spend more time with it to intimately understand the film, because I've only seen it once, it's like, all right, well, I still love this movie, but maybe it's more of a 9 out of 10 than it is a 10 out of 10. So like for that reason, I try not to decide my top rankings of movies in the honeymoon phase, because at that point, that's why I will not. And like even in the conversation I had with you before the show, I said, hey, I'm conflicted. It might be that. Yeah,
but I just try to say that try to say that No Way Home is not the best live action Spider-Man movie, that's ridiculous. Because it's
but that's the thing. I approach from unbiased position, man.
What you're holding it against to Spider-Man 2. I love Spider-Man 2 with Doc Ock, but to try to be like, oh well, it's not like
that movie aged terribly.
It's not.
No, it hasn't. Spider-Man 2 was the last Spider-Man movie I seen before I seen Far From Home, and it went through this thing. So how can I explain? So it went through a phase to where that movie was God tier, and then it went through a phase where it was not aging as well. And it's like, but then what happened is the MCU happened, and we had this moment where every Spider-Man movie, every not X-Men, but every Captain America, so on and so forth, had to have a connection to the next film and the previous film before it. And in some ways, though I love the MCU films, sometimes the weaving of one movie into another can kind of bog it down. So for that reason, when you look at the Spider-Man 2 movie for what it is in a vacuum away from it, yeah, it can at sometimes be a little hammy. Pun is definitely intended, but it actually still holds up as top 3 Spider-Man films in my opinion. I don't know when the last time you have watched it, but please go watch it again.
Peacock has all of them on there. I watched all 3 of them.
So our opinions will differ. I will not go into detail with that, but I hold my own opinion about that movie.
I know he hates that movie. I don't know.
No, I don't hate the movie. It's just, to me personally, it did not age as well, and I have my takes on that just from a cinematic standpoint. As for a Spider-Man movie, sure, let's go with that. But I digress. One of the things I did point out, because I didn't really get to talk during Batman, because you guys are Batman
aficionados.